Hi, Dave Roscoe here. It is Wednesday, June 25th, 2025, and there's been a new single-day migration record for the Pi network, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. I have an update on my anti-cammerbot, and there's a new article from Crypto Times talking about Pi 2 Day, and we'll take a look at that as well. But first, the metrics. The circulating supply is 7.53 billion Pi, and there were 109,013 user accounts migrated yesterday. That is a new single-day record, and I don't think it's ever seen that before mainnet, after mainnet, whatever. I think this is a all-time record, and it almost doubled the previous all-time record. Or single day record, I should say. And that totaled 25.9 million Pi. That's in one day. This is very encouraging. Now they may be making a big push to, just to have something positive to talk about for Pi 2 Day. I don't know. But at the end of the day, that's 109,000 people who were no longer waiting for migration. So that's good. There is 17.5 million Pi in the Pi migration wallet. And migrations have been going this morning. Since I woke up, they were already going. I don't know if they've been continuous throughout the night. I don't feel like scrolling back that far, but it doesn't matter. Migrations are happening. The migrated unlocked rewards are at 2.29 billion Pi, with 13.4 million Pi unlocked in the last 24 hours and now free to be traded on the open markets. Looking at the price action, we have some positive news here. The Pi coin is currently trading at 65 cents, which is up 22.69% from this time yesterday. The market cap is at $4.92 billion, which is up 23% from this time yesterday. Now, the interesting part is less than 48 hours ago, we were down under 4 billion. What a difference a couple days makes. The daily trading volume is at $235 million, which is up 107%. This is good. People are psyched and the price is going up. And when volume's high and the price is going up, chances are it'll continue to do that, but not financial advice. Like I said, I expected a pump before Pi 2 Day, whether it was justified or not. Hype is hype and people do what people do. And as for me, I'm psyched because I still have my long positions going and my first price target for take profit is at 70 cents. Now, I don't really care if this ever makes any money. I did it because I said I would, and it's kind of fun. But to be honest with you, I've never cared about what the price of Pi is on the exchange on any given day. I report on it because there are people that do care. We'll have to see what happens. But I don't see any red flags here. So if you guys want to trade, go ahead and trade. Be careful though. Don't bet anything that you can't lose. The bills still have to be paid. So this article from Crypto Times says Pi Network's Pi 2 Day approaching in 3 days. What to expect? Pi Network's biggest mid-year event, Pi 2 Day, is set for June 28th, and the timing couldn't be more important. What started as a symbolic date inspired by 2Pi has now become one of the most anticipated moments for the project. This year it lands just as key updates are rolling out and questions about the network's next big move are building. The biggest focus leading into the event is the rollout of a new KYC sync feature, which appears to be resolving one of Pi Network's most persistent bottlenecks. Users who have remained stuck in pending or tentative KYC status are now starting to see approvals come through, thanks to a technical bridge between the Pi browser and the main app. Well, they got this a little bit wrong. It is not a technical bridge between the browser and the app. The browser and the app both have the same weak link, and that's the back-end servers. The browser is not the definitive or authoritative source on anything. It's just a reporter, and it's a reporter on what the backend servers are telling it, just like the app. What the sync function does is it synchronizes the state of the app with the servers. So if you were tentative KYC, because of some misunderstanding between your app status and the backend server, then that got resolved. But for others, it didn't matter. But I'm glad to see it's helping some people, but they kind of got this a little bit wrong. The update allows identity data to be reconciled across platforms, unlocking long-delayed access to the open mainnet for potentially millions of users. The rollout hasn't been announced as a complete fix just yet, but community members across Pi forums and Telegram groups have reported status changes within 20 to 48 hours after syncing. Well, that's great. And I've also heard people talking about how their countdown timers are suddenly a lot shorter than they were, or in some cases longer. So it's got its good and bad. KYC sync could supercharge mainnet. If the new KYC sync keeps clearing backlogs as it has this week, mainnet traffic could spike right after Pi 2 Day. More verified users mean more live nodes and a healthier pool of validators, exactly what Pi Network needs to hit its next growth targets. Again, they got this wrong. There are no user nodes running on the mainnet right now. Or if they are not participating in consensus. They're just watching. Until that happens, then there's not going to be any impact whatsoever with regards to the responsiveness and capacity of the blockchain. Pi 2 Day is more than a feel-good anniversary. It's the day the core team usually rolls out big features, shows fresh tools, and explains where the project is headed. The KYC upgrade will take center stage this year, but the community is also waiting for news on governance plans, the long-promised global consensus value, and any new dApps that prove Pi's real-world utility. Okay. So this KYC sync thing, I don't necessarily think it's such a big deal, and I don't think it's going to be center stage. I mean, maybe it is, and if it is, that's kind of sad because it's a relatively minor feature. The global consensus value, the Pi Core team better not talk anything about global consensus or price in any way, because if they do, that can cause a lot of problems. And there's a very good reason why they're so quiet. They cannot say a lot of things, especially with respect to price, because that will manipulate people and markets, and they're not allowed to do that. And as far as global consensus value, I'm going to say this right now. Global consensus value is a joke. Okay? If you don't like it, unsubscribe from my channel. I am tired of hearing about GCV. This is the real world. Real world runs on markets. And there's no scenario, dual value, anything that's going to salvage GCV. In fact, you guys are killing the Pi network by pressuring merchants to honor this price. You need to stop. And the bad part is that the Pi Core team can't really step in and do much to squash this because, again, they're walking a fine line between talking about price. They say that the users define price. Yeah, they kind of do, except that they don't get to dictate what it is. If you don't like the current price, then you don't use Pi. And maybe that changes things. But you know what? A lot of your fellow pioneers are putting their coin on the market, and that's not doing anything to help the price. So forget about GCV. It's a dream. Wake up, move on. And this, maybe they'll announce some dApps. I don't know. You never know. They always say that, oh, the dApps are coming. dApps are coming. We have a lot of dApps. They're just not very good. PiFest rolled out in March, gave merchants an easy way to accept Pi, and showed the network's payment potential. Many pioneers hope this week's event will build on that momentum with fresh integrations and developer incentives. I hope that's the case. I definitely want to see more opportunities for developers and merchants to get involved. Meanwhile, chatter about a Pi listing on Binance. Oh my God, here we go. Or HTX refuses to die down. Ain't it the truth? It just won't die. It'll happen when it happens, people. Stop looking for goalposts and milestones. Come on. So far, though, the core team hasn't confirmed anything. A listing would bring liquidity and visibility, but launching before most users finish KYC could splinter the ecosystem and spark wild price swings. The coin's unofficial price hovers around 54 cents. Not as of this morning. Down more than a third over the past week on thin, unofficial markets. If Pi 2 Day delivers a firm listing date, sentiment could flip overnight. If not, the market may decide the network still has homework to finish before taking that leap. And I agree. I definitely think it has more work to do. And it doesn't matter when it happens. Pi 2 Day, next week, next month, next year. As soon as the Pi network lists on any other major exchange, it's going to have a big impact on the price. Doesn't matter. So the fact that it's Pi 2 Day doesn't change anything. It'll happen whenever it happens, and it'll have the same effect. While most eyes are on KYC and listing talk, there are hints that the core team is thinking ahead. Co-founder Nicholas Kokolis recently showed up on an AI panel at Consensus 2025, and that didn't go unnoticed. You think? Some developers now believe Pi may be planning to bring generative AI into its ecosystem down the line, possibly through new tools or platform features. At the same time, users across regions like China, Africa, and Latin America are waiting for a breakthrough. A second round of KYC access might be announced on Pi 2 Day, potentially allowing millions who have been stuck on the sidelines to finally move to mainnet. If confirmed, the move would help Pi unlock participation from some of its most active but often underserved regions. As Pi 2 Day approaches, the community is watching closely, not just for announcements, but for outcomes. That's what I'm looking for. Whether it's successful mainnet migrations, new tools for developers, or movement on token liquidity, what unfolds on June 28th could shape the platform's direction for the rest of the year. The core team has so far managed expectations carefully. Yeah, just by not saying a damn thing. Now all eyes turn to whether this Pi 2 Day delivers on what the ecosystem has been building toward. Well, this is a generally good article, and I have generally good thoughts going into Pi 2 Day because mostly I've kept my expectations very low. And everything I've said so far about the price action leading up to Pi 2 Day is coming to fruition. We'll see what happens at the day. You know, it's right now we're buying the hype, right? And the selling the news will come next. So the last thing I want to talk about is my anti-scammer bot. I am putting the finishing touches on the final version of this bot. And this will be the last one. It's consumed way too much of my time. I have been unsuccessful. And there's only so long I'm going to do that because it costs me money. It costs me about $100 a month. And then every time I try it and fails, it costs me about 10 Pi. And the reasons why are kind of difficult to explain. And I don't want to give away too much of what I know about how the network works. So I'm giving it one last shot with this new bot, and I've put everything into it. I've done everything I can to make this the most robust, the fastest, and smartest bot that I can think of. If there are better bots out there, then they win. Simple as that. And I'm sorry that I can't help people, but I've given it my shot. I've got somebody unlocking on the 27th, but we're not entirely sure. His wallet is compromised. This is kind of a hedge to just in case. So I'm trying to do my best to make sure I have the best shot at winning, but I'm already going into this expecting I probably will. But hey, if you've got friends, family, yourself, whoever, your dog has an unlock that is coming up in the next, few days or a week, and you want to give me a shot to try to save your Pi, then reach out to me in the comments and I'll give you a way to contact me and we'll see how it goes. Like I said, this is the last version. I'll try it a few times. If I have any success, then I'll keep it going. If I have none, then I'll shut it down and you'll never hear about it again. Well, that's all I have for today. As usual, if anything breaks, I'll be sure to let you know. But until then, don't panic, stay the course, and remember, the success of the Pi network begins with you, Pi to the moon. Peace.